Okay, we are going to do a case study with the lovely Rachel. Rachel, you all good with me recording this?
Yeah, that's fine. You can
Yeah,
go.
great, great, great. Thank you for sending me your health history questionnaire. What we're going to do is I'm going to do a session with you as I would do in my clinic, and we are going to talk through your health history so I get a better understanding of some of the detail. And then we're going to look at options of how we can solve some of the things that you are looking for help with.
Sounds good.
Okay, so I'm going to share my screen so that we can all see your health history. You see that okay?
Yes, I can see it just fine. Yep.
Great. Okay, let's start from the beginning. So you're a speech and language therapist. Enjoy it? Can
Um,
get, go
yeah,
on.
I love it.
Yeah. Stressful?
Um, when I was working for the NHS, yes, because now I work privately. A lot of that pressure has been taken off, but I still work within schools and it's not the optimal environment. So I don't have as much say and influence as I would like to.
Okay.
So
Uh,
frustrating.
uh, two daughters. Are you trying to conceive? No, really not. No, thanks. How were your pregnancies and labors and
Um, Good question. First pregnancy, both of my pregnancies were excellent. First child got pregnant very easily. Then after that, I think something autoimmune changed in my body.
mm,
Second child, lots of infertility, lots of treatment, didn't come easily. But once I got pregnant and was able to sustain it, easy, good, healthy pregnancy, they were both cesarean births. So
okay, can I check? Did you go through IVF for the second?
I did. I did one
Yeah.
round of IVF, and I think we had like four different implantations, but none of them stayed. I had miscarriages, or they just didn't take.
Yeah. And so you fell pregnant naturally?
In
Yeah.
the end, it was totally naturally, yes. And I have my suspicions, but I don't know why it happened naturally. But yeah,
Okay, great. So you have a regular cycle. Sorry, let me check your age. 74, how old are you?
I'm 51.
51. So regular cycle, usually 28 days, occasionally 26, light, very little pain, last 4 or 5 days. Yeah.
Yeah.
Any symptoms with your period? Do you notice that you like PMT or
I would say less and less. I would say probably about a year ago, the last week before my period, like when it would start, I was just like, oh, thank goodness, the relief that it started. Now it's not so severe as that. There's still something and there's still a relief of like just mood and outlook and sleep when it starts. It's not severe.
and you're on HRT, aren't you? I think that
I
you cover
just
that later.
started, yeah, like 3 months ago, I started HRT.
Okay, tell me about that. What are you on and have you noticed any difference?
Um, yeah, the biggest thing I noticed difference was sleep in the using the project. Like I've just never been a good sleeper. Like kind of wake up at 3 and that's kind of it. I don't get back to sleep. And adding the progesterone has just been a life changer. Yes,
I hear you, sister.
yes. I'm like, don't ever take it away. The estrogen, I feel some difference, but still lots of kind of like weird brain fogginess, word finding difficulties. Yeah. Not
Yeah.
not huge difference in the estrogen.
Did you get your hormones tested before you went on HRT, or was it just a prescription from the doctor?
I did. I live in Italy, so the system of private works actually a lot easier than it does, I think, in the UK. So, first of all, she just talked through my symptoms, and we started on some very light estrogen and progesterone. And then 3 months in, she said to get it tested. And she looked at all my levels to kind of like make sure that the amount I was taking was right, with that in line with the symptoms.
Great, great. Now you have Hashimoto's.
Yes.
How long have you had that?
I don't know exactly. The first time I knew that my antibodies were high was probably 10, 12 years ago. So after my second pregnancy, but like years ago, I was hyperthyroid.
Yeah.
Went through the normal ranges, got the medicine, and then my thyroid was just like brought into normal levels for kind of like 8 years, and I didn't really think about it. And then I tested my antibodies, and they were high.
And when did you speak to your doctor when you were doing the HRT? Did you speak to your doctor about taking any medication for the Hashimoto's?
No, no, I've never been on any medication for it. I've
No.
just eliminated, like, I've just brought the antibodies down through diet.
Great. And is it something that you keep checking on a regular basis?
Probably once a year, I'll go
Great.
for a thyroid panel.
And do you know your thyroid levels?
I don't
You
know.
don't. When you get yourself tested, you just test the antibodies.
No, the whole thing. The
Oh,
TS,
good.
the T4, the T3, the TSH, and the antibodies.
Yeah, great. And you're doing that every year, yeah?
Yeah.
Great. And they're within range?
They're within a range, yeah. Probably not
Yeah.
optimal. So, for example, when I got pregnant with my second child, then I did see an infertility specialist for like autoimmune issues, and
Mm.
he didn't like my thyroid, so he put me on thyroxine for the pregnancy.
Yes. And how did you feel on that?
I didn't really notice a difference. Plus, I was pregnant, so it's kind of hard to know what's causing it.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so not any medication for Hashimoto's. I wonder if I should. It's a good question. We can talk about options for different routes that you can explore if you want to get more support. There is sort of the traditional medical route, which is your thyroxine, which is one route, or there are functional doctors who do natural thyroid replacement, such as ARMA is another option that you can go down. So it's just this route tends to be a lot more expensive. But if you feel quite passionately about going down more of a natural route, then that could be an option. And not taking any medication in the past, but you didn't notice any difference with supplements. Okay, you had terrible gastritis and H. pylori 2 years ago. Tell me about the gut specialist. What did they do?
She did lots of stool tests and lots of breath tests. I probably did like three different breath tests and three or four different stool tests to look at all the different bacterias, and then put me on a range of just all different supplements to kind of kill and then rebuild my gut bacteria.
And did you get to a place where you were getting either breath tests or stool samples that were clear of all of the,
The breath test definitely got clear.
yeah?
Um, I don't know if with stool tests, there's just always something else to do. Like, I don't know if it ever gets into optimal range.
Yeah. Did you get all of the inflammatory markers done as well? Or was it just for bacteria?
No, it was a full stool test.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, if you
And
can,
it just kind of got to a point a year ago when I was like, I think I'm going to take a break from this.
yeah, yeah,
He was
yeah.
suggesting another stool test, and I was like, okay, maybe I'll revisit it. But for now, I kind of felt like a lot of the pain had gone, and I was at a kind of a happy place that,
Fab. So
yeah.
the reason that I asked that it's whenever I'm looking at someone with something like Hashimoto's, which is autoimmune with the thyroid, the two main places that I would be looking is stress and digestion. They're the kind of the two ones that I want to make sure I've done everything I possibly can for those to be able to support the thyroid as much as I can and the immune system. But let's keep going and we can have a look. So you're on HRT, you're on progesterone, you're on estradiol, no testosterone. So I would like some advice and your opinion on testosterone replacement. We can't give advice on medication. You knew I was going to say that. Go and speak to your doctor about it. That she should have measured your testosterone levels.
She
Um,
definitely did, and it was after the test that she's like, "Do you want to talk about testosterone levels?" And she says they are very low, and some women really miss that.
yeah,
Some women kind of don't. It's not a big difference, so they're okay with it. So she kind of left it over to me to get back to her.
it's
Whether
in, yeah, it's entirely up to you if you want to test it. Usually, testosterone when it's low, it's the energy that we're missing, it's the sex drive that we're missing, and it's also the muscles. and the strength that we have. So if you're noticing in those three areas that you're struggling a bit, then it's something to consider. Okay, supplements. What digestive enzyme are you on?
I actually brought it here so I can show you. I change them all the time because I kind of think it's but it's called In Vivo Bio Revive and Digest.
Yep. What's it got in it? Can you tell me the ingredients?
It
Is it
has
just enzymes, or has it got some betaine in it, or has it got some bile acids in it? Bile salts.
just the enzymes,
So it's amylase and protease and
protease, lipase,
lipase. Yeah, then
cellulase.
fine. Vitamin D, omega-3, ashwagandha. Ashwagandha, I have found with autoimmune can either be amazing or it's not amazing because it is a nightshade ashwagandha. So just bear that in mind. If you notice that, oh, I take it and I feel better and I've got more energy, then great. It's also one of those that it can either give people energy or it can send them to sleep. So it's one of those, test it for the person to be able to find out if it's right for them.
Okay. It was the gut specialist that put me on it, and I don't really notice a big difference. But then when I read about the benefits of ashwagandha, I'm like, oh, I want that.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I keep renewing it, but I'm not sure I notice a difference.
yeah. How long have you been taking it?
I probably took it for about a year, then I had a break for about 6 months, and then
Mhm.
kind of a month ago I restarted, but honestly, I don't feel any different on it. So I think
That
I'll use it what I have and stop.
I think that's probably best. An adaptogen, when you start taking it and it's right for you, you notice a difference usually. So yeah, I'd probably park that one. Creatine collagen in ositol. Is that for your blood sugars?
I don't know. I watched something on it and it said to take, I think it's partially for, I listened to too many podcasts, I think. I think it's partially for blood sugars, yes, because I had a blood sugar monitor on a while ago and I noticed I had quite what I think are very high spikes.
Mm,
So to regulate that. And then I kind of heard like for sleep and hormone regulation
yeah,
that it can help.
yeah. Uh, it's it's not the first go-to I would look at for you because you are probably more. I'm interested in the stress. We'll talk a little bit more about that, but it's more digestive and immune. You're not blood sugary. You haven't got weight issues. There's not polycystic ovary syndrome. It's kind of a different profile. It's not the first supplement that I would be looking at with you. I think the vitamin D and the omega-3 is fine if you are digesting it. So I want to go further through the questionnaire to find out what is going on with your digestion, because one of the things that we can see is when clients come to see us and they're particularly interested in their health is they've got this huge list of supplements, which can sometimes be good. But when you've got someone with a very, very delicate digestive system, which I think you might have, it can sometimes be overload. So we can look at maybe a less looking at less supplements for you to take that will be more targeted and less heavy on your system. But let's keep going through the questionnaire and we'll find out. Okay, food looks very PFC based, which is great. Looks like you're doing our course.
Yes.
So salmon and veggies with some sort of salad bits, I suppose.
They're hot. It sounds like it's cold, but the idea of cold vegetables at breakfast. But yeah,
Great.
like cooked vegetables.
Cooked veggies and salmon, then steak and meatballs with vegetables again. Again, it's cooked, yeah, with a bit of soy yogurt and no sugar or anything in the soy yogurt.
No, just natural plain one.
Usually stop eating at 4, so I skip dinner. I may have a snack of dark chocolate nuts, chia seed pudding, a handful of nuts, cashews, almonds. Is there anything you want to tell me about the way you're eating that you think is important for me to know?
So many things. Getting on to the next one, but I really don't. There's so many foods that I don't tolerate well. So like grains are a no-go. Definitely gluten and dairy are out. Even nightshades I've been off for ages, and just recently I've even like the brassicas because it's what's in season at the minute. So I was eating lots of like cauliflower, broccoli, cabbage, sauerkraut, and just having terrible digestive pain and swelling and bloating. So I'm kind of down to a backbone diet, I guess. Like I really struggle to find vegetables that aren't nightshades and aren't brassicas
Yeah,
that I tolerate to eat. Um, and yet I kind of think vegetables are important. Even nuts, if I have too many, I can
yeah,
have like literally like 4 Brazil nuts, and I'm like, that's it for the day. I can't have any more than
yeah.
that.
Yep. I totally get it. I do think you've that from that history of the H. pylori and the gut infections. I think you've got a sensitive gut, and it just goes hand in hand with autoimmune, and you will find lots and lots of clients in the same position. I completely hear you, sister. I'm the same. I so where are you at in the course
I am on the coaching.
coaching bit?
Yeah, so I've
So
finished I finished the dietary, and I'm not on to the wellness part yet.
because I think this is a wonderful food plan for PFC for those first stages, but where your health is at, if we look, so you don't open your bowels easily, constipation, bloating, burping, digestive discomfort, gastric pain, even though you've got this wonderful food plan, I think there's more that we can do. And when you get into the hormone part of the course, in the digestive module, we have a microbiome plan that cuts out some of this. And actually, in the immune, we go even further. But because of where you're at, I want to tiptoe into it rather than going straight for the systemic plan. So, what I'm going to recommend is the microbiome food strategy, and that would be cutting out the nuts. I do think that you probably knew that I was going to say that. But I completely hear you on the Brazil nuts for selenium, but with a digestive system that's sensitive, it just is not going to be breaking that selenium down. So we can maybe look at getting selenium via a supplement or other means. But those brown coatings on the Brazils are just such an irritant to the gut. And what we can look at doing is putting you on the microbiome plan and seeing if we can do some gut healing. As one of the reasons that I asked about the stool sample is where are you at? And you've done so many. You're very welcome to send me your stool results if you want me to have a look. I am suspecting that you've got quite a bit of inflammation. The thing with autoimmune is that it tends to come in pairs or threes or fours, and you may have maybe inflammation in the gut that is borderline Crohn's or colitis or something. That could be a possibility. So if you send me your stool sample results, I can check that and see if that's coming up. So the more that we can just strip any of the foods that are going to be irritating for the gut, then let's see if we can heal the gut. If there's no gut bacteria issues going on, then we can see if we could start to introduce some more of these foods.
Okay.
Okay.
That include the seeds as well, then, like the chia seed pudding. Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
well, yeah. I mean, chia seed pudding, because it turns into sort of like a gloopy, it's almost like a fiber, isn't it? So I'm not as worried about that because you're soaking them, right? I mean, chia seeds just dry, I would be saying no go. Uh, but yeah, nuts and seeds are out in the microbiome plan, unfortunately. The other thing is eggs can be a bit problematic. I don't know if you notice, it's particularly the egg whites when you've got a sensitive digestion. So you can maybe go more in the direction of the yolks or yeah, I think it's the eggs and the nuts here that we're going to need to work on. I hear you on the vegetables, and the majority of clients, what we want is actually what you're eating here is wonderful. But when we've got someone who is I'm not getting the results I want, the list of digestive issues that you're having to deal with, if you want to get underneath that, then reducing the amount of fiber that goes into your microbiome is actually beneficial. There are lots of different studies that show that fiber can be very beneficial for microbiomes. But when you've got a sensitive gut, it just irritates and it just upsets. And did you say when you did the breath test, you had SIBO as well?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you've got that tendency towards SIBO. And one of the challenges that you have because of the Hashimoto's, and this is a chicken and egg situation, what came first? Did the digestion go off first that triggered the autoimmune that triggered the Hashimoto's, or did the Hashimoto's come first that has triggered the digestive system? Because when your thyroid's not producing the right levels of thyroid hormones, then your metabolism is naturally going to slow down and your digestive system is naturally going to slow down. And you've got it in perimenopause as well. So you've got it all sort of stacked against you for things like constipation. And the challenge you have is if you're not moving your bowels, then it's all fermenting and it's all laying the pathway for bacteria and SIBO. And so it's kind of this vicious circle that we're trying to break. So working with how we get your bowels moving is how do we support the thyroid, which is maybe one of the conversations that you have with your doctor or with a functional doctor. If you think that your levels need picking up with your thyroid, that needs more support, because the more thyroid hormones you're going to have, the quicker your metabolism, the more your digestion is going to move. But also, like, putting lots of fiber in. I totally hear you on the brassicas. They're not great with thyroid issues. So I would be removing them from your food plan as well. Moving towards more of a sort of very simple, you've got sweet potato in there. I think that's fine. You've got, is that the fennel? I think is also, it's cooked. The raw food I would be staying away from, because I think that's going to be creating a little bit more constipation. So we're going to be going for the microbiome plan, and how do we support the thyroid more? So coming away from the brassicas, you can maybe look at a thyroid supplement that's got selenium and iodine and some supporters. I think a lot of the autoimmune can be coming from the gut, but the more that we can support the thyroid gut. Okay. I hear you on the magnesium oxide. I think moving your digestion is a good idea, and being able to support it with the magnesium is a good idea. But I think the thing that is to move your bowels is to support the thyroid. Okay. The fact that you're getting things like burping and digestive discomfort, gastric pain, a dull ache just between my ribs. I don't know. Where are you? You're in Italy, aren't you? Oh, there are points, kinesiology points underneath the rib cage, underneath the breast, that you can sort of massage and rub, which is for the digestive system, which will hopefully create some relief. And you can also massage and press around the ileocecal valve, which is you find your right hip bone and your belly button, and it's the point in between that. It's called McBurney's point, and you can massage around that to be able to help relieve some of these from a physical structural perspective. So yeah, the fact that you've got all of these suggests to me that you're still eating foods that you're not particularly intolerant to, and I don't think the digestive enzyme is doing anything.
No.
You shouldn't be getting all of that, and I don't know if the digestive aid is actually making things worse. So we can look at alternatives. You can look at a betaine and pepsin, which is more of an acid supplement rather than the enzymes. You might be fine for the enzymes, because the direction that we want to go in is simplifying your food. It's like meat, fish, easy to digest veg, and into things like stews that has been cooked and is broths. And if your SIBO is gone, broth's fine and really healing. And maybe trying a digestive acid, a betaine and pepsin.
A while ago, and again, it was a while ago, so it's probably worth trying again. I did try the betaine and pepsin, and it just burned. It was
Yeah, okay. It's not for you then. I would, have you tried apple cider vinegar in a little bit of water? Does that help, or does that burn?
Yes, again, when I was having gastritis, and again, it's past, so I could try it again. I used to take vinegar all the time, and then it's just too strong for me.
Yeah, I definitely dilute it. We just got, if you can imagine, like, your digestive system is just super sensitive. So we would just want to go super easy, things like broths and easy to cook vegetables and maybe what you do is add a little bit of vinegar into your food rather than taking it neat or taking it with water. And if you can get to see someone like an osteopath or a kinesiologist who can do maybe some digestive relief around sort of the pain and, like you say, around these ribs, to give you a little bit more physical relief as well as the nutritional relief that we're working with.
Okay.
Gastric pain is described. You have burning mouth sensation on my tongue, especially in the morning before I eat.
Yeah.
At I, it's an indicator we can't diagnose, but that a burning mouth sensation for a woman your age, I would be thinking is low estrogen.
Ah, interesting. Okay.
Now, it could be coming from the digestive system, that your digestive system is not liking what you're eating and is maybe, but it is also just to note that it is a low estrogen sign, so it might be worth getting your estrogen checked.
Okay.
Have bursts of energy, especially first thing in the morning, fluctuates through the day, low energy, feel overwhelmed by needing to do things. Anything to add to that?
Um, Not really. I constantly have a sense of overwhelm. I'm constant, like I'm really working on it through the different programs and the Reclaim Your Life and things like that. But I definitely get really like, oh, I've got so many things to do, I can't possibly do it. Panic feelings.
Yeah. And when you get into that, I can't do it all, I can't do it all. What's the worst that can happen if you can't do it all?
Just feels like everything's going to fall apart.
And what would happen if everything fell apart?
Then we wouldn't function. We would just wouldn't work. Like meaning everything, like family, work, children. It wouldn't work. It would be like a car crash.
Yeah. And then what's the worst thing about that?
Hmm. Um, we would cease to exist. I don't know. My kids would suffer.
Mm,
Yeah, I wouldn't be doing my job. My
and if
value,
you,
okay, it probably comes down to my value, my worth would be nothing because that's my contribution to the world. So
yeah,
I would reduce to nothing.
yeah. And what's the worst thing about being reduced to nothing? I'm gonna push you on this one because
Uh,
I think it's really important.
I don't know. Then I'm nothing. Then there's like no meaning, no purpose.
Mm,
Like purposeless. You might as well. I want to say be dead, but that's quite extreme, probably. But there's no purpose to being alive. You're not alive.
mm. There's I think what can happen is that we just work so hard to avoid something like this all falling apart, and this belief that we have that if I drop any of these balls, this is all going to come crashing down. And I think the invitation with our health, because I can feel the tension in that. And like I said, I want with Hashimoto's, I want to be looking at the digestion, but I also want to be looking at the stress. And you're in this interesting place where you've hit perimenopause, you're starting the HRT, but this I can't drop it, I can't drop it, I can't drop it. And the invitation is to go and explore that as an idea is if I dropped everything, I dropped my job and dropped my relationship and dropped my children and drop. I'm just good. Just what could that look like? Because we get very, I can't look at it. I can't look at it, which adds to the stress. But if we can actually look at embracing it and looking at it, then I think it might give you the opportunity to start realizing, okay, I choose to take this, I choose to take this, I choose to take this, but actually I can drop this, or this can be a different way. Because it sounds like you've got yourself into a potentially into a cycle that it's got to be this way. I have to deliver this function because without it, and it's interesting to see where it takes you, that life has no meaning. So I wonder if it's worth just giving yourself some time to really look at all of the areas in your life. Because it can also maybe bring up some emotion of some grief. Oh my God, what if I let that go? But it will give you the opportunity to really choose what you have in your life. And I think it might make you look at all the things in your life, maybe something can be done differently. Maybe all of it can be done differently. Because the other thing that we do as mothers is, oh my God, when the estrogen is there, we just give and give and give and give and give and give. And that is amazing. And I think women are superheroes. But when we start to go through perimenopause and the estrogen starts to change and we are empty, we haven't got anything else to give. The opportunity here is to allow your children to start coming forward and to start taking more responsibilities and to be doing more. And for you to be more in that feminine receptive place where you're receiving rather than having to do all the time.
Interesting. Definitely worth exploring. I think it is an interesting time in my
Mm,
life because I think I have a daughter who's 15. I'm thinking, oh, within a couple of years, she could be away, she could go to university, kind of like the perimenopause is like a real change in like your femininity and kind of what happens next. And I think it is a big question of change. And I think there's probably a big part of me that's like holding on,
mm,
holding on to that mothering role and holding on to feeling like I'm needed and important in
mm.
people's lives and
Yeah.
fearing of what the next stage if I still feel that.
One of my favorite pieces of work to do is to connect in with the inner child. And my other invitation for you is for you to feel into your inner child, the one who maybe you've not spoken to in a long time, and she's potentially the one that needs the nurturing and needs the mothering now. So your nurturing and your mothering is going to change, but it's going to become a lot more inward. And having a conversation with her. And my two favorite questions for speaking to the inner child is, what's going on? How are you? Because she might go, oh my God, I'm just super stressed. And where have you been? Or, I mean, she might also be quiet, or she might not have anything to say, or she might have lots to say. And the other question I love to ask is, what do you need? What do you need from me? I'm your mum. I'm here. I'm listening. What do you need now? And this is where real self-care can come from, is when we speak to that little 4-year-old, 6-year-old within us who is trying so hard to be a good girl and to do everything well and to be useful and be needed. And actually having a conversation with her, she might be super tired, and bring some of that nurturing home, because you're absolutely right. Your babies are getting older and gonna fledge the nest, which is exciting, but it also it's going to leave a different place for you to be. And there may be grief in there, but there's also this opportunity for bringing a new energy in. But yeah, the thing that I'm interested in from your health perspective is the holding, it's the tightness, it's the tension, because that can absolutely sit in the digestion and it not sit. So the more that you can kind of breathe and let be in flow, it's going through perimenopause, the more that we can trust that we can just be in flow, because just everything is changing. And the more that we can stop just holding on so tight to what we have, then the nervous system will calm down, the endocrine system will to receive that message, and that can calm down. That the adrenals and the thyroid, good grief. Whenever anybody says to me they've got a thyroid issue, I'm going, where's the stress? Where's the stress? And how do I get underneath that stress? Because the thyroid is just so right on top of our voice box. It's usually what needs to be expressed, what needs to be said, what's not being said that could be.
Yeah. Because I've had digestive issues for quite some time and I've been to different specialists, there's a strong feeling in me that there's something more emotional going on and contributing to it as well. Yeah.
I maybe bring this into coaching is I have noticed that there is a tightness and I want to explore it. I want to know where that comes from, why I need it, what would happen if I let it go. because it's this, I could just got control of everything, but if I let go of the control, what does that mean? And the more that you can start mapping that and looking at it and trying to find, okay, can I be comfortable looking in the just drop all the balls? Then I can start to really consciously choose which balls I pick back up again.
Okay.
Okay,
Yep, I'll explore that.
fab. Let us know how you get on. Uh, so regular exercise and moving, love all of that. The only one that I would park, but I'm just going to check what running means because you might be just lightly sort of poddling along, but any kind of running is just this injection of adrenaline. And when you've got a system with you've got the stress and the tension, you've got a digestive system that's struggling, you've got a thyroid that's struggling, running can be the thing that I would park because it's
Okay.
just that adrenaline
I would
message.
say I do love that like high adrenaline hit running. More the better. I kind of run on adrenaline, but I've dialed it way, way, way back. Way back because I also have a knee issue, which I've probably created from over exercising. And I used to be a real like marathon, half marathon runner, and I've pulled that way, way back. So when I say running, it's like a 20 or 30-minute run with some walking in between. It's pretty gentle.
Really, really gentle. I'd go super gentle. I would clock if you feel tension and stress coming into your body. The knee, there's from a kinesiology perspective, there are muscles that run through the legs that are connected to the digestive system. So again, when you go and see an osteopath or a kinesiologist, get them to have a look at those quadriceps, those hamstrings, which is connected to the digestion, which will hopefully help that. But there's also a big stress muscle that goes into the knee. So stress and digestion, of course. But yeah, I love the stretching, the cycling's all good. But anything to keep your adrenaline while we're going through a gut healing process and we're trying to support the thyroid, no stress, as much as you can limit it.
I just run on adrenaline. So if I don't get my adrenaline, I'm like, what do I do? I'm dealing with it better. I'm trying. I'm trying to like come down and
What I love is people who've lived off adrenaline. If I don't have adrenaline, what am I going to do? It's who am I going to be without the adrenaline? But there's yeah, that's absolutely if you want to get underneath the digestive stuff because the endocrine is always going to prioritize the adrenaline, the high energy above you digesting properly. So the more that you can get yourself into a super relaxed place and then eat your food, the more chance you have of digesting it, which is maybe why you're not producing the acid and the enzymes to break your food down. So yeah, that's a big homework I'm going to give you is how do we get underneath this stress? And I would bring that into coaching. If I was doing this as a session, I would say I'm going to book you in for the next one so that we can really get underneath that need for adrenaline. Where does that come from? It might just be the endorphins, but there's also like it can be a high achiever, can quite like adrenaline. And so
love
where
it.
does that come from?
Yeah.
That's always
Okay.
since taking progesterone, I wake up groggy and it does take me longer to get going. One of the things that I am going to say, I think the progesterone sounds like it is working well for you because you're sleeping. But if you notice that that changes because progesterone has to go through the digestive system, when we've got a sensitive digestive system, sometimes the body doesn't like it so much. So if you find that the progesterone stops working or you're going, oh, it's not working as well for me, there are other options of going to functional doctors and taking a bioidentical hormone, which is a lozenge that goes directly via the mouth rather than the digestive system. So that's just a note for you. But it sounds like it is working, which is fab. Not that we can,
Sleep-wise, it's amazing. Yeah.
not that we can recommend on medication. So stress, I carry around a low level of stress overwhelm all the time. Really sensitive to stress. Yep. Yep, absolutely. And the overwhelm is really, really common in that perimenopause space as well. But it does sound like you have lived off your adrenals for years and years and years. And so perimenopause can be just such a wake-up call. It also makes sense to me that the autoimmune happened around the second pregnancy, just living on that stress and then going into sort of a big event after already having one child and then going through fertility and then having another child. It's kind of system overload. So the more that we can just calm the nervous system, and maybe get some of those orange glasses if you're looking at screens, and just everything. How do I de-stress my environment so that I can relax? What would you like from this session? Okay, so I'd like to balance my diet better. So what I'm going to do is organize to send you the microbiome food strategy, mainly cutting out the nuts and the eggs, and looking for very easy to digest meats, broths, fish, with some veggies, because you've got that sensitive digestive system. Not going heavy on the veggies. You don't need loads and loads of fiber. You actually just need a calming situation in your digestion. So stuff that is just super easy to digest. I would like to see your stool samples, but if you haven't got any bacterials, then I would like to look at a gut healing protocol. So introducing some L-glutamine is a good idea. I don't know if a probiotic is a good idea. It's probably going to make you more bloated. I would probably go, let's stick with the L-glutamine. You can put like powders and things in smoothies, or you can just take it as a tablet. We can also look at colostrum as a gut healing, but actually I might just park that because of the dairy. So what I'm going to do is the L-glutamine and broth is for the gut healing. Let's stop with the digestive enzyme. I don't think it's helping, but I do think you might be eating some food intolerances, which we're going to be pulling away from the microbiome food strategy. I would change your adaptogen for the digestive one, which I believe is olive leaf, but I am going to double check. Have a look. No, Tulsi. Let's go Tulsi. Olive leaf is for the immune, I think. Yes, it's for the immune. So Tulsi is the healer. So it reduces gas, bloating, indigestion, supports the digestive system, improves bowel movements. So I am hoping that that is going to.
That's a tablet or a liquid?
A tablet. They should be a tablet. So I'm just going to go through your list of things that you're hoping to achieve, and I want to make sure that I have ticked all your boxes. I feel like I react to so many vegetables. Yeah. So if we can just strip it down to a very, very simple plan, you may need to take it a little bit further to systemic, but let's see how you feel on microbiome strategy. And then we can start to introduce more when we've done the gut healing protocol. So food intolerances, I'd like to deal with my constipation. I'd keep taking the magnesium. Then you're taking the Tulsi, which may help as well. And you're also going to be doing the gut healing. That's all good. That's all good.
What type of magnesium do you recommend? Because I kind of go between a few.
Yeah, which ones have you got?
The oxide, but I don't think that's absorbed. I think that's more for
No,
the bowels.
constipation. Yeah.
Citrate
Yes.
or glycinate, probably.
So you can use a mix of all three. Don't overdose, but you can use a mix of all three. The oxide is going to get your bowels moving. The citrate is good for digestion, and the glycinate is for your stress. So depending on how you're feeling that day, choose your magnesium.
Okay.
Support to regulate your blood sugars. You're a CGM, and realize I think this is coming from eating food intolerances that can spike your blood sugars. And it can also be, you're going to just need to bring your carbohydrates down to heal the gut, and then we can reintroduce some more. So I think that the microbiome strategy is a good idea for this.
Yeah.
I also think cutting out some of the fat in perimenopause, if you're eating foods that you're intolerant to, that's the first thing that I'm thinking of.
Okay.
I'm just going to have another look at your supplements that you're taking. I think these a question in inositol. It's not what I would be recommending for you. Like I said earlier, I would go a little bit more simple with this. Let's cut out the digestive enzyme because it's not working. The vitamin D, maybe if you're not getting much sun at the moment. And the omega-3, I think, is fine. I prefer to be seeing that going in as food because I want to reduce the amount of supplements you're on, because I want to give your digestion a rest. We're swapping the ashwagandha for tulsi, which is more of a gut and less, it's not a nightshade. The cleanse more,
I've
I
kind
would
of
be,
stopped taking it for ages. It was like a miraculous bowel mover for about a year, and it's kind of stopped working.
yeah, I would park
So,
that one as well. The creatine, I'm fine with. The collagen, I'm also, I think that's great with. And we're going to add in the L-glutamine and we're going to make sure that the broth is going in. Have I answered all your questions? And we want to be looking at the stress and let's look at everything in my life. What if I was to drop it? How does that make me feel? Is there a different way of being able to do this?
okay. Yeah, pretty much. I do sometimes feel backed in a corner, like I just don't know what to eat,
Mm.
which is why, and I'll just get hungry, so I'll grab a soy yogurt or I'll grab some nuts or something. And I know it's not ideal, but I'm
Yeah.
like, I can't right now face eating a steak or like it's just don't really feel like eating bone broth right now or something like that. And it sounds like
Yeah.
kind of going even more that way of like really cut down on things. And I'm like, oh
Yes. I
no.
I would have a big pot of a tasty, soupy casserole, something that you is just delicious and have that in the fridge that you can make little portions of when you're hungry, rather than going in the nuts direction. I think you're going to notice quite a difference in your digestion by cutting those nuts out. Uh, and I hear you on the steak. This is why things like stewing meats are a little bit easier to digest, and making sure that you've got a soup that you really enjoy eating and put a little bit of vinegar in. That will help with the digestion and hopefully be delicious and make you want to eat it. But yeah,
So then
I
the
would.
other thing is this is a short-term thing then. It's not, is this a long-term thing?
This is a good question. We're all unique. It all depends on if you can get that stress down, then you might get through this quicker. The general idea that we work with, we've got this stages of wellness where we start someone just eating clean, eating PFC, making sure that they're eating protein, and then we can start to tailor it depending on the client. So for you, I think it's very digestive. So we're needing to strip out a lot of the food intolerances, go super basic, and because you've dealt with all the bacteria and the H. pylori, we're focusing on gut healing. If we can get your gut working okay, then we can start to introduce some more foods and maybe move back towards that PFC plan. But if you've had this for many years, you may find, okay, I just know that on this plan, I'm better. I just feel better and I don't get symptoms. As soon as you start reintroducing the foods and you go, okay, right. Because you might be able to, like the egg yolks, you might be able to, that's it's very nutritious and it's not so much of a trigger compared to the egg whites, but you may never get to the place. But we don't know because it all depends on the person and what's happening in life and what the stress is. And you may find if you're going through a particular stressful period, you have to be super restricted with your food because you need to give your digestion the best chance it can to digest everything. And then when you come out of the stress, then you can maybe start to introduce a few more bits and pieces.
Okay,
Okay.
that makes sense.
All right. Use the group, come back with questions, come back into mentoring. Do this. I would recommend if you were my client, I would say do this for a month and then let's revisit and see where you're at.
Okay, that
Okay.
sounds, yep, thank you.